Welcome to New Agent Part 2. What's next? Now that your account's set up, join us as we teach you more about contacts, search tips, map tips, results displays, results toolbars, auto email, and public records. Let's get started. First, let's talk about contacts, how you can import existing contacts, and how you can add new contacts. You can access contacts under the Clients heading, the Email column, Contacts. To add a contact, you can click the Add button located in the bottom left. A first name, last name, and email address is required for contacts. You also have the option, if you click the Show All Fields button, to add any of the other information that you might have about a contact, including default options for consumer notices that this client might need to receive, and a section for notes where you can track conversations and any important details about the contact. Once you've entered your information, be sure to hit Save in the bottom of the pop-up before you move on. You also have the option of importing contacts. I usually recommend that you start by adding one, and then if you select one of your options and then say Export Selected, you'll be able to open a file, and the file will let you see the individual field names that are included with a contact. Now, you certainly don't have to use each one of these columns, but if you are going to export from another program, say your Gmail or maybe a contact management system, when you export the file from, say, Gmail, you'll get a .csv file. That's the file extension. You'll want to make sure that you order your columns in the same order as the information is coming out of Bright, like you see here. So once your information is in that order, you can go ahead and click the Import button, and you'll be able to browse, clicking the Choose File to find where that file is located. Now, there is a informational note here that you really don't want to use purchased email marketing lists, because those often contain something called trap email addresses that are used for identifying spam. And those sorts of lists will cause email delivery issues for you, and they potentially can also have larger implications. So avoid importing purchased marketing lists. Your contacts that are within the system are really geared towards people that you actually have a business relationship with, that you would consider, if they're not clients already, that they'll be clients soon. When you've finished, you can go ahead and click Import. Let's talk about some search tips to make searching easier within Bright. You can reach search from the search item on the main menu. Under property type, you can choose which type or multiple property types you'd like to search by. When you come to the residential search or any search screen, what you see filled in will depend on either the last search that you performed or the default that you have set up. You can always access recent searches by going to the Recent Searches drop-down in the top right-hand corner. That'll hold the last 50 searches that you've performed. No fields are required, so you can fill in as much or as little information as you like. As you look at the screen, you'll see there are several different types of search bars. Anytime you see the little icon that looks like a square with a magnifying glass, this is a lookup field. It'll show you all your different options that are available for that particular field. You can select which options you're interested in on the left, click Add, and move them to the right. Then say OK. You'll also see peppered throughout some individual fields that have a More button. That'll add additional fields. You may also see an icon that looks like a calendar page. That lets you know that there's a time frame involved for that individual status. You can either type in the time frame or use the calendar icon to select your dates from the calendar. Click OK. Anywhere you see a date or a price field, really anything involving numbers, there are several different ways that you can include information. Clicking the little question mark beside a field will remind you of what your different options entail. You can enter a single number, more than or equal to, less than and equal to, a range, and you can use a comma if you want to search for more than one set of numbers, as shown in the examples here. Don't forget, for the price field, your number is already in thousands. So if you want to search for prices under 1,000, you'll want to deselect that thousands field. Some of the fields you'll see here give you the option to scroll through and see your options. You can always choose more than one option by holding down the Control key as you make your selections, or if you're on a Mac product, you'll want to use the Command key instead of the Control. It's the same process in reverse if you want to remove one of your options. Hold down the Control if you're on a PC, hold down the Command as you select if you're on a Mac. Underneath that field, you'll see that there are 3 radio buttons. The default is OR. That's telling the system that you want either or the options that you selected, so a dining room or a foyer or both. If you change this to and, you're telling the system that you need to have both of the options or all of the options that you've selected. If you select not, you're telling the system that you don't want any listings with these options included. You also have fields where you'll have a drop-down to choose from. Generally, in these areas, you'll just be able to choose one specific option. Now, as I mentioned, these fields are the most commonly used fields across the Bright footprint. There may be additional items that you'd like to search by. Note there's an additional field section here at the bottom where I can click Add and then see all of the available fields to search by. I can scroll through to find my selection and click on it, or I can use the search box to look for something in particular. In this instance, I'm going to choose to search by Remarks, Public, and Private. I select it on the left, click the Add button, and then go back. That new field that I asked to select is at the bottom of the page. And this field can demonstrate another search tip, and that's using something called wildcards to search for specific keywords, phrases, or characters. So for instance, if I wanted to search for a listing or listings that have the word in-law in the public or private remarks, I can use an asterisk before and after my word or phrase. If I want to search for multiple words, phrases, or characters, I just separate them with a comma. Pretty straightforward. If you'd like to set this up as a default, in other words, that this is the criteria that's filled out whenever you come to this page, use the gear icon in the top right-hand corner of the screen. When you hover on it, it should say Set/Clear Defaults. Clicking will allow you to set currently selected search criteria as your starting default. Now let's take a look at some map tips, both on the filtering side and the searching side. So if you're trying to reach maps from the search screen, you'll see that in the bottom left-hand corner, there's a map button, or in the top right-hand corner, there's a map tab. Either one of those options will take you over to the map, and the default will be to show you a map view that has the most of the matching listings already displaying. Maps can be used to both filter and to do some additional searching. So looking at these individual listings, if I really want to do some additional filtering, I get a good idea about where these listings are located by looking at the map, as you'd imagine. So looking at the map tabs, if I hover, I'm going to get a little bit of information. It'll tell me the bedrooms, the baths, and the current price. If I click on the map tab, it'll give me a pop-up with a bit more information. I'll have the listing ID, which is a link to more information, the school district, which is a link to the school district's website, the tax ID number, which is a link to see more complete tax records for the property. I also have the option to start filtering, so I can select if this is a listing that I'll want to do something else with. And once I have a listing selected, you'll see some options as far as what I can do with that listing or listings located at the bottom of the screen. So I can go through and look at each one that way if I choose. I also can apply additional layers using the layers icon. When I click on it, I get some additional options. So maybe I want to see something like if any of these properties fall into a flood zone. I can tag that individual option, and then you'll see that at the bottom of my screen here, I have a color-coded heat map to show me what the flood zones are. And it looks like most of these are in the clear. They're out of the special flood hazard area. Those aren't my only options. I can choose any of the other boundary choices, or there are parcel characteristics, so I can see individual features, trending data to overall see what's happening in this map view, or I can apply points of interest to see what's nearby. All good options. If I use the plus symbol to zoom in a little closer, as I get closer, you'll see that it is applying to the map an individual view that'll let me see what the parcels for each property look like. When I'm at this view, at this point, I can click on any one of these individual parcels, not just the ones that have matching criteria on them. That'll let me know when this property, if it has been, was listed previously, and gives me access to the public records. It'll additionally give me the option to apply lot dimensions. That'll automatically zoom in so I can see frontages and total square feet for the lot. So those are some of the great ways that you can filter. I can also use this cool little ruler tool if I want to see maybe the distance to another location. So maybe I want to see how far this property is to the bus stop. So what I can do is click on the ruler, and it's tracing how many feet, and it'll be a straight line. So as the crow flies, how many feet I am to the nearest bus stop. If you'd like, you can additionally use the map as part of your search criteria, and you have a number of icons that let you know what your options are to do so. So I can hover to see that I have an option to do a drive time search, a radius search, to draw a rectangle, a polygon, or a free form polygon. Any of those options that might apply for you. If you need to move the map over quickly, maybe again you want to use the minus to zoom out a little further and see your options. You can use the minus to zoom out or the plus to zoom in. You can also just click on, grab, drag and drop your map until you're in the correct location. Or you can use the little jump to address box here and type in an MLS ID, a specific address, a landmark, a county, a city. It's really up to you. So if I maybe want to take the map over to City Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I can type it in and click. I'll get a pin drop for what the system or Google sees as a match for that. And I can always get rid of a pin if I don't want it. Now looking at this, if I want to maybe do a radius search for City Hall, what I can do, first I'm going to zoom out a little bit here, and then I'm going to choose the radius tool by selecting it, clicking on it. I will click, I'm on a PC, so it's a left mouse click where I want the start to be. And then as I'm holding in that mouse button and I'm drawing out my figure, it's telling me how far around my starting point I'm going. And when I'm ready to stop, I can just let go of the mouse. And now that shape is part of my map search. Now I can either include or exclude this shape just by hovering on the red dot, which is the center. It gives me the option to choose that. And I can always delete the shape if I've changed my mind about it. You can do as many shapes as you like on top of the map. I also might want to do a drive time search. So maybe I'm doing a search based on a location. Maybe someone wants to stay within a certain distance of the school that their children go to, or their workplace, or their current neighborhood. I can enter a location to drive to and from. And I'm going to use City Hall again. I'm going to say they have to drive there and arrive by, say, it's a little early for my blood, so let's say 8 a.m. and they want to be within 30 minutes at 8 a.m. I'll say add, and that'll show the distance around there they can live. And again, you can apply as many different shapes on top of this map if you'd like to choose to do so. So using that drive time, it's also using all of the criteria that I had entered previously. I can always go back and add more if I need to, and I'm seeing my properties right here. You can also exclude areas on top of a map as well. So if we want to stay within 30 minutes, but my client doesn't want to be, maybe too close to the main street, or maybe they want to stay a certain distance one direction or the other, whatever their reason. If they instruct you to, you could certainly draw a shape that they would like to exclude. And using the freeform polygon option, it can be as wacky a shape as you want. And you can just say, exclude this shape, and it excluded the listings within them. Once you have your map set up the way you like it, remember our little gear icon from before? It'll allow us to set/clear defaults. So if I'd like, I can set a preferred map view within here just by clicking on it and saying, set this map view as my starting default. Let's now talk about your results, particularly your results displays. So from the map, when I'm ready to go to results, I'll click on the results tab in the top right-hand corner. The default display is the Agent One line. I know that because it says it right here in the display screen. If I want to switch between displays, if I click on the drop-down arrow, I'll see a whole host of options, both reports that I may have created as custom displays, and then the standard displays that everyone has. Anytime you see the prefix agent before a display, you'll know that that report contains information that's real estate professional specific. It's not designed to be shared with a client. It might contain information like commission, listing agent information, etc. Anytime you see a report with the prefix client, you know that that information has been removed. It's specifically designed to be easily shareable. Let's start off with your default display here, the Agent One line, and talk about what you're seeing. So starting from the left, you'll see if you have just one page worth of results, you have the option to click on drag and drop to change the order that your results display in. Next to that icon, you'll see that there's an option to select listings. Many of the functionalities that you're able to use in the system are dependent upon you selecting specific listings to do something with, and all of those actions are at the bottom. Next, we have the MLS number. That's the MLS ID. And you'll see most MLS numbers, recent MLS numbers, have a specific format. The first two letters identify the state abbreviation. The second two letters identify the county abbreviation. And then we have an ID number. Clicking on this link will take you to see full information about the listing. Next, we have the property type, residential in this instance, the status, coming soon or active for these, the street address, the city, the county, the beds, baths, and its full baths separated with a slash, partial baths, the structure type, the status date, so whenever it became its current status, the listing office name and listing office code, the current price, and then a series of icons. The icons that you see will be dependent upon the area that you're looking in, because different information is available based on the association that you're with and the location of the property. Also, what features are available to you as an individual. Remember that anytime you see an icon within Bright, if you hover over the icon, it's going to tell you what it does. So for instance, for our first icon here, it says price decrease. We can see it's a green arrow pointing down. If you would see a red arrow pointing up, it would indicate that there's been a price increase on that particular property. Many of the icons, if you click on them, it'll perform an action, taking you to that location or opening that feature. View photos is one of these. If we click on the camera icon, it'll open a large picture viewer, and then we can scroll through and view the photos. There's several different options for thumbnails, open all the pictures, or to start a slideshow player. Next, we have the View Map option. We can view documents associated with the listing. We can view a virtual tour if one has been uploaded. None of these listings have the next icon, but there is one available for floor plans if they've been uploaded. The H stands for property history, so we can view the MLS and public records history of the property. The next icon will be different depending on what your relationship is to the property itself. If you are the listing agent or someone who has the ability to edit the listing, you may be able to see the listing performance report, which will compare that individual property to competitors in the marketplace. If you are not the listing agent, then what you'll get is a market performance report. It won't include the specific listings details, but instead will show competition similar to this property in that marketplace. Next, we have a link to the public records, to a tax map if one is available. We have a link over to school information for schools close to this property, community information for that zip code, a link to the buyer's closing cost and seller's net sheet, to see mortgage calculation information. Where available, if your office uses zip forms, you'll see a link here. Open house or broker tour information if this particular listing has that entered. You also have the ability to see this property in the Remind product, which is a third-party product that you have access to through your subscription to Bright. Finally, you'll see a link that looks like a little pencil icon if this is your listing or one you have the ability to edit. That'll take you into the edit feature to manage that individual listing. So now that you know what the icons and the details are on the Agent One line by default, let me show you how you can add additional information. To add a column, we'll just place our cursor into the heading of the column where we'd like to add information. You'll notice it turns into an up and down, side to side arrow. Then I can click, choose to insert a column, and either scroll through or search for what I'd like to include. So say I want to add something like the subdivision neighborhood. I can select it and say apply. When I click there, I also have the option to remove columns, to change the width, to change the alignment, or wrap. So if any of those things are useful to you, you can keep adding and removing columns. You can also order the columns. So if I click on, drag, and drop, I can place the columns in the order I'd like to see them in. If there's any additional sorting you'd like to do, there is an option by clicking on, say, the heading, like price. We can order them in price increasing order. If you click again, it'll just flip that order right upside down. If I would like to save this customized report I created, I can go to the top right, hover on the icon that says Manage Display, click, and then give this a name. So I'll call this my sample report, save as a copy, and you'll notice under display it now says my, because it's my report I created, and the name that I gave it. If I would like this to be the default report, remember our icon from our previous screens, the set/clear defaults. If we click on it, it'll let me set my current display, sort order, and count per page as my search starting default. Let's take a look at the results toolbars. You'll find them floating at the bottom of the screen underneath your results. You have 4 separate toolbars to use: Actions, Refine, Save, and Carts. Actions is the default. You'll notice that many of the buttons are grayed out or deselected. If you hover, it'll let you know that you need to check or select at least one item in order to use those tools. Criteria is your first option, and it's just essentially going to give you a rundown of what you see right underneath, which is the criteria that you use to come up with these results. Email is next, and clicking on it is going to open a menu where you can quickly send off these listings that you've selected off to your desired clients or contacts. You can create a new contact from this screen if you need to. Notice there's also an option to blind carbon copy yourself. All customer displays are automatically available to your client. If you would like to add additional, there's a link to do so. Note that you'll have the option of those custom displays that you may have created. You can send up to 5 contacts an email at one time and carbon copy anyone you like. You'll want to include a subject and an email body before you hit send. Next, we have the print option. Print is going to, by default, assume that you want to send the report that you're looking at. Note that the custom report that you created, as well as any other custom reports, are options to print. You can select multiple options from this menu just by holding down the Control key if you're on a PC or the Command key if you're on a Mac product. Some of your reports will only be available to print by PDF. Note that they're under that heading. Other options can be emailed as PDF, previewed, or using your standard HTML printing. For any of these options, you can choose to include a header, a footer, both, or none of the above. There's an option to print all listing photos, but please note that there could be up to 150 photos per listing. You can also choose to print your search criteria and do an ink saver mode that doesn't print any images, perhaps if you're just printing out some reports for yourself. Next on our actions menu, you can start a CMA from this point. You can run directions on the properties you've selected. You can choose to create some statistics. You can export these. You can set up showings. Or if you've purchased the Cloud CMA Premium product, you'll see that as an option here. If it's not part of your subscribership, then you won't see this option. Let's take a moment and look at showing time. This is how you can quickly and easily set up showings for listings. From the tab that opens, you'll select Add to Showing Cart, pick the day your showings are going to occur. If you would like, you can associate this with a buyer, or you can add a description. When showing time comes up, you'll see the properties that you've selected and the available times for when you can schedule showings. You'll also see a map below. You can reorder these options. You can set up turn-by-turn directions. Nothing will be sent until you pick your time slots and choose the Send Request button. There's an option to email this itinerary to someone else or to print it out for yourself. Next menu you'll see here is the Refine menu. This will allow you to view these listings as a specific contact would. So if I click on the drop down, I can pick one of my contacts, and then I'm able to see if I've ever sent or emailed these listings to this particular contact. If they had been emailed them or they'd seen them in the portal on their own and used any of the icons to indicate they were a favorite, a possibility, or a discard, or added any notes, I'd be able to see that here. You're also able to narrow here. If you change your mind and want to go back, you can click on the path up here at the top to return. You could also choose to discard the listings that you've selected. You can do a multi-level sort, or you can quickly look at these properties in the public records. We'll come back to save in a second, but let's proceed on with carts. Carts are a way that you can save specific listings to be able to view later. If you want to create a cart, there's a New Cart button located here. I can quickly give the cart a name, associate it with a contact if I choose, and click Save. And notice that it automatically took those two listings and placed them in the cart for me. If I would like to add on to an additional cart, I can choose the cart that I'm interested in. The number you see beside it are the number of listings that are already in that cart, and say Add To. To access a cart later, I can go under Clients, My Carts. Let's return to the Save menu. Here we're able to choose between saving the search criteria by selecting New Saved Search or creating an auto email. You also have the ability to create a speed bar shortcut for this particular search if you think you'll be doing it on the regular basis. Your speed bar is located up here in the top of the screen. So let's talk about creating new auto email. If you're on the results page, under the Save action bar, you can go to New Auto Email. From the top on the Save a New Auto Email screen, you can select an existing contact, or if you haven't created them yet, there's a quick link to create a new contact on the fly. You can carbon copy someone else. You can blind carbon copy yourself. Just a note about who you might be sending these auto emails to. An auto email will go to whatever recipients you designate. So they'll all get the body of the message that you're going to send and a link to the portal that the listings and results of the search will show in. Within this portal, Everyone who has access to it can use icons to organize the listings, they can add notes, and anything that's in there will be viewable to anyone accessing the same portal. So you really just want to keep the auto emails set up for one to each individual who's involved in a transaction. So it might be a couple, it might be maybe a parent with a child or another family member who's involved in the transaction. But because everyone will have access to the same portal, you really do want to keep that limited to just the people involved in that individual transaction. Next, you can set up your message. So perhaps you want to create a subject, which will be the subject of the email, but it'll also be a signifier, what you'll use to identify this listing later on. So I always encourage being a little bit specific, just in case you need to edit this list. We can designate a salutation. There's a default salutation based on your contact. You can edit that if you would like to change it to something else, or even enter a custom salutation. Then you can choose the message. There'll be default text both with the welcome email, which is the first one that the client will receive, and then the reoccurring email, which is what they'll get each subsequent time. You can overwrite or edit this as you like. Coming down the page, we have a signature showing up. If you've already created one, it'll autofill. You can always edit on the fly. And do note that we do have our little set clear defaults if you want to create a default in this section. Coming down the page, there's an option to select a state's consumer notice to go along with the first email that's sent and then each 60 days subsequent. We get a reminder about our criteria, and then we're coming down to the settings section. Here you have the option to designate whether or not you would like this individual auto email to be set up in concierge mode. Concierge mode means that instead of the listings being sent directly to the client, you'll get notifications instead and will be able to further sort of vet these listings and then either approve to send them on or reject to say, nope, they're not a good fit for that client. We'll look a little closer at Concierge in just a minute. Your next option is with regard to what display is going to default appear for your client in the portal. Note that all customer displays are automatically available in the portal, but we can click the additional link if we want to choose a specific custom one to show up, like maybe that custom report that you created previously. Next option asks you whether or not you'd like this contact to appear in reverse prospecting results. Reverse prospecting is a tool that's available to listing agents where they can take a look at the buyer's agents who have contacts or clients that are a match for their listing. It's designed to promote cooperation and compensation between listing agents and buyer's agents. Next, you can choose whether or not to enable this particular search criteria on the Home tab or dashboard as one of your favorites. Finally, you have an area to schedule how often you'd like your client to receive notices about new matches for their criteria. ASAP means emails are sent as soon as possible. Daily means the emails will be sent on the days in either morning, evening, or both. We'll only send out notices when there are new matches for the criteria that you have set up. Your final choice is for monthly. Emails are sent on the first of the month at midnight. So make all your desired selections and then click Save. Soon as you click Save, your very first set of matches will be sent out to the client, and then the next time it sends will be based on the schedule that you selected. Again, we only send when there are new listings. If any of these listings come off market and come back to active, they'll be sent again. Or if they have price changes, your client will also get a notification of that as well. Let's take a step back and touch on concierge mode. As I mentioned before, concierge mode is the option where you'll receive notices of new listings or matches as opposed to them going directly to the client. If you choose concierge mode, you have the option to get alert notifications via email, which is the tag box you see here, or whether or not you're going to get the alert notifications via email, you will always be able to see your new matches with this concierge alert that appears when there are new properties for you to review. So you can use this link to take a look at them later. Now, because you need to review the listings, when you click Save in concierge mode, it takes you straight to the approvals screen. This approval screen will let you see whether or not these listings have ever been emailed to your client. That's what this emailed column means. If your clients have seen them previously and they've used the icons in the portal to organize them, you'll see one of those icons in the column right here to the left. And if they've added any notes in the portal regarding these listings, you would be able to see those. If there is a note, then this icon would appear highlighted or active. You can also add your own notes. So if there's something in particular that you want your client to take note of, you can add a quick note. So maybe look at the new kitchen and click add a note. Then when you send or approve this listing for your client, they'll receive the note along with it. In order to approve listings, select them and then click the button that says Approve Selected. Note, you also have the option to reject listings. So if it's not a good fit, you can always select and click Reject. One of the really nice features about the concierge mode is that it does allow you to kind of track what's come across your plate. Any listings that come up as matches will stay in this individual client's concierge until I approve or reject them. And even if I reject them, if they don't make it to the client, I can always go to Show and the number of listings I've rejected button to revisit those later if I need to. You can also approve them if you change your mind. You have some additional settings included in here. If you want to print, email, if you want to view it in a different display, whatever you need to do to make the right decision for your client. If you need to come back to your auto emails at any point, your auto emails live under Client, Auto Email. Next, let's talk about public records searching. From the search menu, you can choose the public records option in the far right-hand column. This will show us an overview of the public records search page. And you'll notice many of the fields that you see within here are similar to the type of fields that you'll see on the MLS side of the search. The basic structure of the page is the same as well, with a recent searches drop-down where you can choose from up to the last 50 searches that you've performed, a criteria, map, and results tab for navigation, and even a gear icon where you can set and clear defaults. There are no required fields and several different types of fields that you can choose to search by. You have your freeform text fields where you can choose a specific street name. You can always use this as a starts with if you don't know the exact spelling of what you're searching for. Next, we have fields where you have the option to type in or use the lookup to see what your available options are. You'll see the counties in this instance that are available. I can scroll through to find what I'm looking for, or I can use the search box to type in an option. Select it on the left, click Add, and say OK. Other types of fields that you'll see within here include the scrollable options, where you can see what your choices are as you move through them. To select an option, click on it. If you're on a PC, you'll want to hold down the Control key as you make additional selections. If you're on a Mac, it'll be the Command key. Underneath, you'll see an OR to say you'd like to look for any of these options, either or you can exclude them by saying not. You'll notice there's an additional option of and on some of these. If I was to choose multiple options in this section and say and, I'm telling the system I'm looking for any properties that have both of those criteria. To deselect, follow the same process where you hold down the Control key if you're on a PC or the Command key if you're on a Mac to deselect. Note as you come further down the page, there are some dates and number fields. Remember our options from the MLS side search where we can enter a single number, use a range, set a minimum, or set a maximum. And you'll notice when I hover over that field, it's going to give me a definition and show me examples of how I can search that field. I also have the question mark here where I can see help on that particular field. Something particular to the tax records that you'll notice is some of the fields like land use codes specify what states have that information available in them. From area to area, you'll find that different municipalities and localities choose to collect and use different information. We always try to let you know what that field would apply to by area by the notes that you see here. Just like on the MLS side, in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see an orange set of buttons. One of them is matches. That's letting you know how many results are going to come back based on the criteria that you've entered. You also have navigation over to view the map, to view results, or to clear the criteria if you want to start with a blank slate. The fields that are contained by default are the most common fields across Bright's footprint. If there are additional fields that you'd like to search by, at the bottom of the page we have an add link. There you can see all of the available fields. You can scroll through them or use the search box to find what you're looking for. Remember again that you have the ability to multi-select. Once you've made a selection on the left, you can click the Add button to add it to your selected fields. Going back to the page, you'll always have the option to see fields you've added at the very bottom. They'll come back each time after you've added them. When you're ready to move on to the map, you can click the Map tab in the top right, or you can click the Map button in the bottom left. And then we'll have our map defaults. The options that you'll see in here in the functionality are nearly identical to what you'll see on the MLS side. When you're ready to move on to results, we can click that tab and we'll see the returning information. Again, similar to the MLS side, you have the ability to customize this report and to use the icons on the far right of the page. Most of your functionality in terms of actions, refining, saving, and carts are all available as well. Some of the information will differ, obviously because your tax records are going to be different than listing information, but we can go in and choose from the list of displays. The most common report that's going to be used or display that's going to be used here is the Agent 360 Property Report. This report is designed to give you the most comprehensive view of the property itself. You'll notice that it's laid out in a series of tabs across the top of the page. It also offers an icon or two that you haven't seen previously. One of these is the bullseye. This is an accuracy issue icon. If I click on that icon, it opens up a separate tab and it lets me submit an accuracy report for this particular listing. First, it's going to flag me and just ask me to confirm the information about how many or what tax records are available for that property. Next, it'll give me an accuracy issue screen where I can give a description of what my concern is and then click submit. That accuracy issue is available from full reports on the MLS side as well. It's important that our data be as complete as possible, and the accuracy issue helps us keep it that way. We also have a link here to view comparable properties. This is an automated search that'll bring back properties similar to the one that you're looking at. Let's take a look at the tabs contained within the Agent 360 property report. It's defaulting to show us the public records. This will vary based on the area that you're looking at and the information that that locality collects. But in general, you should have summary information, geographic information, assessment and tax information, lot characteristics, building characteristics, codes, and descriptions. At the very bottom, you'll see an MLS history, which includes a link to take you to look at the previous listing. Next, we have a tax history. This will show what the taxes were through the years on this property, including school, county, municipality, and total annual taxes, as well as assessment information where available. Next, we'll have sale and mortgage data. This will show different recordings, and if mortgages are present, those taken out against the property. You won't see if mortgages have been satisfied, just that they've been taken out. Next, we have a flood report. This will give us information on the specific flood code and panel for this parcel. Last listing will only be available if the property has been listed previously within the MLS. And this will give us an overview of the listing itself. I'll point out from this page an additional icon that you'll see here. This is the click to send to HomeSnap. If you're using the HomeSnap app, this is an easy way to get that listing information to your phone or device and then forward it further, perhaps if you want to share it with a client. Next, we have history. This will give an overview of the property history, i.e. what's happened through the tax records, and the MLS history, so what's happened in the MLS. Then we have a Maps tab. The Maps tab will give you a couple of different views of the property. First, on the left, we have a satellite view. Next, we have a zoomed in view with the map or lot dimensions turned on, so we can get an idea of the frontage, the overall parcel square footage. And then finally, we have the flood map itself. This will let us see if this property is located within a flood zone. And it looks like for this example, it is. See below where you have a legend of the colors that are contained therein. Now, your Agent 360 property view prints in a little bit different of a way. So I'm going to tag this listing and click on the print button at the bottom of the page. This is going to show you the reports that are available within the tax records. You'll notice since I'm at the Agent 360 property report, it's assuming that that's what I want to print. But you do have these other options to choose from. Just like on the MLS side, you can include a header, a footer, either or both. Make any report a multi-photo report by choosing Print All Listing Photos. Include search criteria. Make it an ink saver by excluding images. And if you're on the Agent 360, you'll see that there's an option to print all the tabs or just specific tabs if you're interested in them. I'll mention here the sketches option. We're not looking at a property that includes sketches. If you were, that is a feature that's available in specific areas where the assessor draws a sketch of the lot. Similarly, assessor photos would only be available in areas where that municipality has them. So you can choose which of the tabs you'd like to print and then go down to the print button. One other nice feature that's available from printing within the public records is the labels feature, and you'll see those as options right on the print menu.
Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll be notified anytime we post new or updated training, or when we're online with instructors conducting a Q&A session or a live training. It's a surefire way to become an expert on Bright MLS. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll be notified anytime we post new or updated training, or when we're online with instructors conducting a Q&A session or a live training. It's a surefire way to become an expert on Bright MLS.